This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Kenya on high alert after a woman is hospitalized with suspected Ebola symptoms. Sudan's military promises tough action on those responsible for the crackdown on protesters in Khartoum. And Libya's UN-backed government of national accord unveils new political plans with a promise of elections this year. Hello and a very warm welcome to Africa Live on CGTN. I'm Lindy Mtongana in Nairobi. Also coming up this hour. The U.S. Trade Representative's office kicks off testimony on a new round of tariffs on Chinese goods. And in sports, African athletes dominate in the fifth round of the IAAF Diamond League Series in Morocco. We start the program in Nigeria, where at least 17 people have been killed following a triple suicide bomb blast in Konduga village in Borno State. Now, dozens of residents were injured following the attack. 3 suicide bombers detonated improvised explosive devices at a viewing center. No official statement has been given by the military or police, and no group has claimed responsibility for the attacks. Well, let's try to get you more information now on these developments in Nigeria. We're joined live from Abuja by CGTN's Phil Ihaza. Phil, at the moment, information a little sketchy at this stage, but what more can you tell us about these multiple bomb blasts?
Well, thank you, Lindy. We woke up to the news of multiple bomb blasts in Borno State. That's in the northeastern part of Nigeria. In this case, 3 actually bomb blasts which occurred around the viewing center where football fans were watching television, football match on Sunday night. Now, so far, the government has not come out to give a confirmed statement, but officials there, Usman Kachala, the head of operations of the State Emergency Management Agency, quoted the figures which have been put together as 30 so far that have been killed, and several others, about 40 injured and receiving treatment as we speak. No militant group has come out to claim the attacks, but it has a semblance of Boko Haram terrorists in the northeastern part of the country.
And we know that Boko Haram has often targeted Borno State, but why Konduga village? What do you think would make this place a target for militants?
Well, Konduga village is about 25 kilometers from Maiduguri, and that's the capital of Borno State. Borno State, first of all, is, in quote, the capital of the Boko Haram sect. What I mean by that is it's been the base of operation majorly of the Boko Haram sect. In fact, that is the state where it all started back in 2009 when the leader Muhammad Yusuf was killed by government officials with when the claims for caliphate was all clamored by the sect, but it has gone on beyond Borno State now to several other parts of the northeastern part of Nigeria and even beyond, because the government troops have pushed them back, pushed them even beyond the borders of Nigeria to the neighboring Lake Chad region. Borno State also has a heavy presence of security agencies, but that's notwithstanding, the security analysts have said that the approach may need to change. The Nigerian government may need to look more into intelligence gathering, need to stop the recruitment of vulnerable people, young people, children, girls into the terrorist sect, because also there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of displaced people as a result of the security issues. Also, there's been calls for Muslim leaders to clamor for peace among the Muslim faithfuls, who are also, majority of them are also recruits or source of recruits for these militants. So I know that the government claims they have decimated the militants, but we're hoping that the decade-long insurgency comes to an end indefinitely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Phil Ihaza, joining us there from Abuja. As he says, no official word from government yet on this particular attack, but it is believed that the death toll could be as high as 30. We will bring you more information on the story as it comes in. For now, though, let's turn to news from here in Kenya. Health authorities in Kericho County, that's in the Rift Valley region, are on high alert over a suspected case of Ebola. This after a patient who is currently in isolation exhibited suspected symptoms of the hemorrhagic fever at Kericho County Referral Hospital. Now, county officials on Monday said the woman had traveled from the border of Kenya and Uganda to see her spouse. The county disease surveillance team says all the necessary precautions have been taken to ensure that there is minimal contact between the patient and other persons at that hospital, including staff. Blood samples from the patient were sent to the Kenya Medical Research Institute in Nairobi for further analysis, and those test results are expected to be revealed soon. In fact, just a short while ago, Kenya's health ministry has said there is still no confirmed case of Ebola in Kenya, though 4 people are now in isolation in Kericho County. Meanwhile, World Health Organization and Ugandan health officials have started giving vaccinations to people who may have come into contact with the relatives of the 2 people who died of Ebola last week, and a 5-year-old boy who has been confirmed to be suffering from the disease. The cases in Uganda mark the first time the virus crossed an international border since the outbreak began in the Democratic Republic of Congo last August.
A World Health Organization panel decided not to declare an international emergency over Congo's Ebola outbreak despite its spread to Uganda, concluding such a declaration would cause too much economic harm and perpetuate existing fears among an already wary population.
If we get vaccination against Ebola, then let's pray to God, because the message I got from those people in Congo, I hear for them, they were thinking as if Ebola was something like, they are witches, and they could hide information. That is what I hear.
The viral disease, however, spreads through contact with bodily fluids, causing hemorrhagic fever with severe vomiting, diarrhea and bleeding. A 5-year-old boy and his grandmother died while receiving care in Uganda following contraction of the disease while in the DRC. The global body has now launched an aggressive vaccination program to stem the spread of the disease.
These are people in the community where the confirmed case was staying, and of course they were here. They came from DRC and came and stayed in this place for a short time though. So we know there are definitely people who came into contact with them, their family, the neighbors, the friends, all living around this village. So the strategy is that once that happens, then we come in and do what we're calling vaccination of these contacts of contacts.
The cases recorded in Uganda this week were all of people who had arrived from the DRC. This reality has introduced some concern within the residents in the affected community.
I request at least to get this vaccine as a village, because people, they are scared, because the person who come from Congo, he dropped here and that time when he gone, but people, they are scared, so they request to get that vaccine so that it must be protected.
They are willing to take up the vaccine. It is a harmless vaccine. It's given the same way we give all the other vaccines, so there shouldn't be anything unusual. And they understand it's for their benefit, so that they are able to stay healthy and save their lives.
The Democratic Republic of Congo's epidemic is the second worst ever, with 2,108 cases of Ebola and 1,411 deaths since August. Beryl Oro, CGTN.
Now, the Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, is in fact headed to Kampala to meet authorities there to discuss frontline efforts to prevent more cases of Ebola crossing in from the DRC. Let's get you more on this now. CGTN correspondent Isabel Nakiria joins us from Kampala. Isabel, an important meeting then between Ugandan authorities and the WHO. What does Uganda hope will come out of this meeting with the Director General of the WHO?
Of course, this is the third time that Dr. Tedros is visiting Uganda since the outbreak of Ebola in April 2018 in the DRC. He is here, of course, to assess the response plan that Uganda is having to deal with the outbreak that has so far claimed 2 people. Of course, he's here and he says that he's totally committed to supporting Uganda financially, and he's trying to mobilize support, financial support from the international community for Uganda. Of course, Uganda is in a shortfall out of the $148 million that Uganda needs for this response plan. Only $43 million has been got. So I believe that Uganda is talking to him and asking him for ways in which they can get more money to respond. Uganda has been in the prepared mode for 10 months since that outbreak in the DRC, and of course now they are responding to the outbreak. 2 people have died so far, and so more money is needed.
And you talk about, financial support being the main concern, but perhaps just paint the picture for us of what that response looks like at the moment in Kasese, and what are the immediate needs for health authorities in trying to make sure that this outbreak doesn't spread beyond what's happened so far in Kasese.
Of course, since 2 people died last week after a family crossed from the DRC into Uganda, this family, we are told, passed through a health center in Malabo where they escaped, and that is how they found their way through a footpath into Uganda. And so Uganda is mobilizing support, especially along the non-designated footpaths between the DRC and Uganda. And so they will need a lot of money and, of course, health workers to guard and watch out on these pathways. Of course, there is a vaccination exercise that is already taking place, and the contact people that may have come in touch with the family that crossed through Uganda are being vaccinated, and of course the frontline workers that did not get the vaccine the last time. And so Uganda will need to keep a watch on its border for the screening and of course its health workers. So more of this money will be needed. But of course the WHO has already made it clear that an order of vaccines has been made since last year in December, and that will be arriving, that including the 3,000 doses that the WHO already sent in and the 400 doses that came in from the DRC. So around that area is where Uganda needs more support.
And Isabel, can you just give us an update on this particular family that was at the center of the Ebola outbreak in Uganda? Is anyone still quarantined? What do we know about the young boy that did test positive for Ebola?
A statement has been released by a joint statement by the WHO and the Ministry of Health, and they say that at the Bwera Health Center, Ebola Center in Western Uganda, there were 2 cases that were being investigated. So far, one result has come out negative, the other result is still pending. But they say that the country has no Ebola case so far, apart from the around 20 people that they are following who may have come in contact with the family of the boy that died, of course, and those people are being vaccinated. But the country is still on high alert, and of course there's that ban on handshaking. So everyone has been alerted and told to be on the watch out to see if there are people who have any symptoms to report. And of course, that ban still stands, the handshaking ban.
Isabel Nakiria, thank you so much for that update, joining us there live from Kampala. Now, turning to news from Sudan, former President Omar al-Bashir is facing corruption charges. This according to the country's public prosecutor. The ousted president appeared in court on Sunday. 41 other former government officials are also being investigated for suspected graft. This was his first public appearance since he was ousted in April. The long-standing former leader has been in prison since April 11th.
Investigations into criminal charges against al-Bashir are completed. Charges have been brought against him. He will go to trial by the end of appeal period. So next week, the former president will be brought to trial for charges of illegal possession of foreign currency and prohibited enrichment.
Meanwhile, a top general from Sudan's ruling military council has vowed to hold accountable those responsible for the crackdown on protesters on the 3rd of June, in which dozens of people were killed.
The dispersal of the sit-in was a trap planted against the Rapid Support Forces. I will not go into details, as we will comment after the investigations. The goal was only to evacuate the Columbia area and the Nile Road, but things didn't go according to plan. Now there's change, even in social life. The situation is totally stable. I'm calling on everybody. Let us sit and agree to reach what is good for everybody. No one should impose his or her opinion, not the military council or anybody else. We're all working for Sudan, so let's agree together.
Now, the head of Libya's UN-backed Government of National Accord, Fayez al-Sarraj, has announced a new political initiative and promised elections in a bid to move the country beyond 8 years of chaos. He has also proposed a forum to be held in coordination with the UN mission to address Libya's crisis.
I present today a political initiative for a way out of this crisis. I call the Libyan people to gather and continue the national struggle and the project of building a democratic state. We have decided during this forum what will be the future roadmap for Libya, and we will create the suitable constitutional law to hold presidential and parliamentary elections before the end of 2019.
Now, different political players, parliamentarians and tribal leaders are meeting in Cairo today to discuss the Libyan situation. Let's get you more on this now from CGTN's Yasser Hakim, live with us from Cairo. Yasser, what do we expect to emerge from this meeting of political players on the conflict in Libya?
Well, these two-day meetings are expected to come out with some kind of a unified stance concerning who or which side this group of politicians and tribal leaders will be supporting or are supporting in the ongoing conflict in Libya. As you know, Libya is now divided between the east and west. You have the Government of National Accord in Tripoli, led by Fayez Sarraj, and you have the eastern and you have obviously the Khalifa Haftar and the parliament and obviously the Libyan National Army. So they're both now divided. There's a war ongoing now, and those leaders are in Cairo to try to forge out how to move forward and who do believe that should be taking the lead in the next stage of Libya's transitional period.
And Yasser, I mean, this is a group, as you mentioned, of political players and tribal leaders, but just how influential are they in the context of this very divided Libyan conflict?
All right. Libya's demographic situation is quite different than many other countries, maybe like countries in Africa. The tribal and the Arab world, the tribal loyalty is much, much stronger than political parties or political forces. And those who are here in Cairo mainly are leaders of the bigger tribes in Libya, the influential tribes in Libya. And when the leaders decide or announce that they are supporting one side, then you expect the public opinion in this area that they control or their tribe in Libya would support the same. So having the influence of those tribal leaders would obviously be a turning point in the conflict in Libya if you talk with the public opinion and the political forces. And that's what we feel is going on so far from the meetings that started this morning, is that they are taking the side, many of them are taking the side, for example, of the Libyan National Army and the fight against terrorism. And they're saying that they support this war on the militias in Tripoli. So when the tribal leaders say so, this ensures public backing for the Libyan National Army in areas that these tribes control in Libya. So if there's a consensus towards one side at the very end of the meeting, not divisions, if there are they are united on one side, then we expect that this one side that they are supporting will be the one that would be having the backing of the public opinion or the Libyans back home in Libya. So it could be very influential in the next few weeks.
Yes, Hakim, thank you so much. Joining us there live from Cairo. Well, time now for a short break. Here's what's still ahead on the program. China's 22nd Peacekeeping Engineer Detachment Unit repairs infrastructure damaged by rain in the DRC. And Morocco struggles with over-exploitation of sand resources along its coastline.
Data out of the country. The country's foreign currency reserves.
With a dedicated and diverse team of anchors, CGTN now brings Africa to the palm of your hand.
I'm Perina Karibe in the heart of Nairobi, which is bustling.
From everyday heroes to the continent's most powerful figures, we bring their voices to you.
We haven't changed.
And this is something most of us are very excited about.
We bring you news that's changing perspectives.
Reporting from Nairobi City Center.
News that brings Africa to the world. CGTN. See the difference. Africa Live. Find your voice. Argentina and Uruguay have restored power after a massive blackout that left around 48 million people without power. The blackout disrupted public transport, cut off water supply, and crippled phone and internet communications. Argentinian authorities say it was prompted by a failure in the country's coastal grid, but further investigations are still underway. They also see it as an opportunity to improve the country's power systems. Now, today is World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought. The United Nations designated the day in 1994 to raise awareness. The UN reports desertification affects about 1/6 of the world's population and 70% of all dry land. This amounts to 1/4 of the world's total land area. Nearly 2 billion people will experience absolute water scarcity by the year 2025, and 2/3 of the world will be living under water-stressed conditions. This year's slogan is "Let's grow the future together," with the UN calling on all countries to confront the threat. Now, in the western coastal city of Mohammedia in Morocco, sand has been stolen to help feed a growing industry. A recent report by the United Nations Environment Programme on the global overexploitation of this resource accuses sand mafias of destroying the country's beaches and over-urbanizing its coastline. Some 10 million cubic meters is extracted illegally, according to that report, and more than half the sand consumed each year by the country's construction industry. Beaches are therefore shrinking, resulting in coastal erosion. Theft of sand is punishable by 5 years in prison in Morocco. Beaches are being stripped from north to south along a coastline that runs from the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic. Now, China's 22nd Peacekeeping Engineer Detachment Unit to DRC has been helping with road construction. The team of around 13 is performing maintenance, repair and construction on the number 5 road between Sangye and Uvira. Many sections of the road were seriously damaged during the rainy season, posing difficulties for patrols and locals to travel. The area has been invaded by militants, posing a security threat to both locals and the troops. The UN peacekeeping mission in the DRC ordered the detachment's unit in Uvira to repair this section back in March. So far, 80% of all engineering tasks have been completed.
Road number 5, which is seriously damaged during the rainy season, is the life channel that runs through the eastern part of the DRC. In particular, there are 4 culverts damaged in the Sangye-Uvira section. We quickly drafted the construction plan in 2 months. Now, we have accomplished 3 culvert restoration tasks. We will continue to accomplish these tasks with first-class standards, first-class quality, and first-class speed to ensure that this life channel will be restored as soon as possible.
Meanwhile, all the equipment carried by China's 7th batch of peacekeepers deployed in Mali has met the United Nations standard. This was announced after a recent check by the organization's multidimensional integrated stabilization mission in the country. The UN check group, comprised of five members, has gone through nearly 10,000 pieces of equipment over the past 3 days. The exercise is a comprehensive inspection and assessment provided by the contributing countries on a regular basis. Mali is located at the southern verge of the Sahara Desert with temperatures reaching over 40 degrees Celsius. This poses a tough challenge to the equipment used for heavy-duty work, including the construction projects and maintaining security and routine patrols in Mali.
Actually, I find China, all the contingents, all the units are very responsible and they are professionally very sound. They prepare everything as per their requirements, and the display of the equipment is perfectly like a military manner.
Guatemalans voted on Sunday to elect a new president after intense campaigns that saw 2 leading candidates barred from taking part and the top electoral crimes prosecutor forced to flee the country. The Supreme Court opened voting where 19 candidates are vying to succeed outgoing President Jimmy Morales. CGTN's Chamgono has more.
Gang violence, poverty, and news of streams of US-born migrants have dominated campaigning in Central America's most populous country. Some of the main contenders are Sandra Torres, a 63-year-old businesswoman and former First Lady, candidate for the center-left Unity of Hope Party, and Alejandro Glamatei, a doctor running for the conservative Vamos Party. A candidate must get over 50% of the vote to win. If none gets this, a second round of voting will take place on the 11th of August.
I trust in God that yes, I will be elected president. I am very optimistic that we have worked hard for that and our goal is that. And if God wants, I will be the first female president.
I hope that Guatemalans can go and cast their votes in peace. I sincerely hope and trust. I want to put a lot of trust in the Supreme Electoral Tribunal.
Guatemala's electorate of 8 million also voted in congressional and municipal elections. Monitors from the Organization of American States, led by former Costa Rican President Luis Guillermo Solís, are supervising the polls. The country is said to have one of the world's highest homicide rates. Around half the killings are blamed on drug trafficking and extortion operations carried out by powerful gangs.
Let's hope to God that yes, that we have a change, that the candidates speak with sincerity, because we are giving our vote with sincerity, and we expect that from them.
A lot of corruption, a lot of gangs, a lot of killing. All that, who is going to change it? It is somewhat difficult, but I hope that one of these candidates can change all of that.
President Jimmy Morales, who won power in 2015, is obliged to step down under Guatemala's one-term rule. 2 top candidates were barred from running in the polls, placing uncertainty on the outcome of the exercise. Thelma Aldana, the former Attorney General who fled to the United States after receiving death threats. Also barred from the running was Zuri Rios, daughter of the late dictator Efrain Rios Montt, under constitutional rules that prevent his relatives from seeking the presidency. Chamgono, CGTN.
Chirping of birds, sounds of whispering trees, burbling of streams. When sunlight sets the forest's leaves aglow, and waterfall surges down from the mountain, we see and hear the Earth's wondrous beauty. The Earth is meant to be appreciated, and the life of its inhabitants deserves our endless exploration. Come with CGTN to listen and see, in chorus of life, to marvel at nature and life.
You're watching Africa Live. Here's what's coming up in your business news up next. The U.S. Trade Representative's office kicks off testimony on a new round of tariffs on Chinese goods. And Egypt approves a new law for small and medium enterprises.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
You don't find the stories of North Africa by sitting on the sidelines.
You've got to get out, go there, and you'll find them. In the bazaars of Casablanca. Among the crowds in Cairo.
Who come to visit Cairo, the ancient capital of Egypt.
Along the waters of the Nile. Along the sands of the Sahara. No one else will take you where we can in North Africa. No one else will show you what it's all about. CGTN, see the difference.
Join us in Global Business and see Africa through our eyes.
On Monday, the U.S. Trade Representative's office kicks off 7 days of testimony on a new round of tariffs on Chinese goods. President Donald Trump has proposed to hit another $300 billion worth of Chinese goods with tariffs, and these will hit consumer goods hard. Products targeted include cell phones, various electronics, clothing, and footwear. Earlier, 600 U.S. companies, including one of the country's biggest retailers, Walmart, sent a letter to the Trump administration asking it to reconsider the new tariffs. Now, 5G is all the rage in today's tech news, but the world's progress towards a 5G future might be hindered as the U.S. administration's ban on Chinese tech giant Huawei takes effect. Our reporter Yang Chengxi explains why the repercussions of this ban might be more serious than previously believed.
This is the Hongqiao train station in Shanghai, one of the busiest in China. Usually in a packed place like this, or at a concert or other crowded venue, people worry about weak signals. But that concern will be a thing of the past when this station is covered by 5G in the future. The new network allows for up to 1 million mobile connections within just one single square kilometer. Also, it's fast. It is really fast. And for those who are curious, here's a trending video of just how fast 5G could be on your phone. By 2025, half of the US and a quarter of China's mobile connections will be made through 5G. It is the next big thing. And this is where it gets complicated. We need to talk about the H word, Huawei. Millions of people around the globe have learned how to pronounce this curiously spelled Chinese brand in recent weeks.
Huawei.
Huawei?
Huawei.
It's actually pronounced Huawei.
But unfortunately, many got to know about it from news clips like this.
I hope all of you up in the gallery are not using a Huawei or a ZTE product. If you are, you might want to go out and buy a different one. These companies are dangerous to our national security and to your privacy.
With that amount of distrust from Western countries, Huawei had offered the source codes of their products for thorough inspections by government agencies from countries such as Great Britain, Germany, and Canada since 2012. And to this day, there has been no evidence of any backdoor used for espionage. And what Huawei needs to do is to work closely with suppliers and regulators. And that's not happening with America, at least for now.
We need to take these measures to develop and use uniform cybersecurity standards. Use these mechanisms to assess risk objectively and based on evidence so that we can have conformance programs so we can prove which products are worthy of trust. That's how we address the risk. That's how we are all safer in cyberspace.
Now, with the Huawei ban continuing, collateral damage is beginning to surface. The company's equipment has been used in the US for years. Huawei supplies technology to about 40 small carriers across rural America. Replacing that could cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and farmers are facing the danger of losing their mobile service, which they rely on every day to monitor their environment.
Nobody in their right mind would shut down a network and shut down public safety. Sometimes I equate it to like flying in a jet with two engines, and you want to replace one of the engines while you're at 30,000 feet. Probably not a real good idea.
That's not to mention that Huawei has been a big buyer of American products. The company spent $70 billion to purchase parts in 2018, and $11 billion of that came from the US. Analysts say the cost will likely be passed down to ordinary consumers. So, if the current American administration's mentality is Huawei, no way, the people are losing out on more than just a smartphone.
The 53rd edition of the Paris Air Show opens its doors on Monday. Plane maker giants Airbus and Boeing are looking at steps to make their aircraft more fuel efficient and reduce their carbon footprints. Humbled by the grounding of its 737 MAX in the wake of two fatal crashes, US plane maker Boeing will be looking to reassure customers and suppliers about the plane's future and allay criticism of its handling of the months-long crisis. The show is not only, though, about jetliner deals, but also a magnet for many of the world's arms buyers who come to preview the latest war-fighting equipment, from anti-aircraft missiles to hotly sought cyber war-fighting capabilities.
So I think what you're going to see, especially when you look at the flying display, is an example of electronic propulsion used in an aircraft. I think environmentally and being environmentally sound is becoming a bigger topic. Both Airbus and Boeing, to name two companies, are looking at how they can improve their products and use new technologies to be able to be more environmentally sound in terms of the emissions from aircraft, for instance. You're going to see continuation of a theme when it comes to things like 3D printing. I mean, several years ago, that was kind of a new thing. Now it's really something that's coming out and really generating parts at scale, and you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see people talking about how they're using technologies like artificial intelligence to help them improve how they design, how they manufacture, and how they support aircraft.
The South African platinum sector is bracing itself for wage negotiations and possible strike action. The sector's biggest union, the Association of Construction and Mine Workers Union, has just tabled an initial monthly salary demand of $1,150. This excludes the benefits package. It is negotiating with Sibanye Stillwater, Lonmin, Anglo-American and Impala Platinum. The start date for talks hasn't been announced as yet, and neither has a deadline been set.
It depends on how does the employer respond. Yes, it depends. So if the engagement becoming progressive will give, but we are not going to waste time and be sitting in the boardroom for a month. No, negotiating until come November. No, we are not going to do that. We are not going to do that. They must make it clear we've got what we will present our demands. Let them talk to our demands. I think 4 meetings will be enough meetings will be enough. Then if they want us in the ring, we are ready for them.
A direct flight from Changsha in Beijing to Nairobi, Kenya, has brought Hunan and Africa closer together. Gu Xie, the Economic and Commercial Counselor from the Chinese Embassy in Kenya, says the direct flight brings not only geographical convenience, but also the benefit of economic and trade exchanges between the two sides.
Although there are not many Hunan enterprises in Kenya, Watsa believes that with the deepening of the cooperation between the two and the direct flight, Kenya, as the transportation and trade hub of Central and East Africa, will become a major trading partner of Hunan.
We believe that small and medium-sized private enterprises in Hunan will find opportunities for their development in Kenya. More enterprises will invest in Kenya and Africa.
In 2018, the total import and export between Hunan and Kenya increased by 72% year on year. In the very first 2 months of this year, 10 Hunan-based enterprises invested more than $50 million in Kenya. Kenya is also seeking opportunities to export agricultural products to China.
With the opening of CAETE, the trade between the two sides will provide a good opportunity for Kenya's agricultural products to export to China.
The direct flight also provides favorable conditions for tourism and people-to-people exchanges between Hunan and Kenya.
Many tourists can take the flight to experience the magic of the East African savannas. And we hope that more Kenyan friends will visit China on this flight.
Kenya is not the only beneficiary of the win-win trade relationship with China. Since April 2001, the Chinese government has sent 456 agricultural vocational teachers to Ethiopia for 19 consecutive years. They have covered 56 specialized courses, trained 6,000 local teachers and agricultural technicians, and brought more than 200 practical technologies to rural areas of Ethiopia through the vocational education system. Terry Wangari, CGTN.
The Egyptian government has approved a new small and medium enterprises law that's aimed at facilitating procedures for SMEs. Yasser Hakim sheds light on the new law.
Ahmed Eid has a workshop to produce handmade cotton rugs, covers and decorations out of recycled material.
Everything here is handmade. I produce myself. I learned a trade from my father. The raw material is all waste from several cotton, clothes and textile factories. It's recycled. I dye it in different colors and produce different products according to clients' needs.
The workshop has been open for more than 10 years. Ahmed says he wants to expand and grow, but regulations have been hindering progress.
The demand is so high for my products not just in Cairo but in Sharm el-Sheikh and Hag Ada. That's because we are only a few who are specialized in this. I wish to have a larger place with more equipment, manpower and materials. I can't because of the bureaucracy, taxes and cost. I can't take a loan because of stringent bank guarantees and procedures.
A new law approved by the government aims at solving these issues.
The
lawmakers are aware of these many challenges. For the financing issue, for example, not only banks will be providing loans, but NGOs are now allowed to provide soft loans with favorable conditions. Allocating a plot of land at any requested location for the business has become much faster too.
SMEs are the base for economic development and job creation, and the government hopes proposed facilities will encourage more people to establish small businesses.
The law has a whole chapter on the incentives for the SMEs. I believe the most important aspects are that there is a one-stop shop. Once the entrepreneur submits the documents, he receives the license right away. Equally important is that there will be tax exemptions on all new projects.
The tax cuts and incentives in the new law are also aimed at encouraging the businesses in the huge informal sector to be included in the formal economy and help to support the budget deficit. Yes, Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
Well, that's where we leave your business news. Here's what's still ahead on Africa Live. Young African artists showcase their talent at the Yakar Music Festival in Senegal.
Join us in Global Business and see Africa through our eyes. The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Qanater, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
In Senegal, the 19th edition of the Yakar Urban Music Festival concluded with high-tempo performances featuring 20 artists from 5 African countries and France. Launched in 1998, the Yakar Festival was set up to give visibility to upcoming young African artists.
I want to take you to my bed, baby.
The festival focused on the hip-hop and urban music genres. Reputable local artists such as Queen Rima from Guinea and Matador from Senegal performed during the event.
Yakar means hope in Wolof. We have focused on young people because we believe we have a duty to help them as we started out like them. I want to support them and accompany them in their first steps. We have had more than 20 years of experience in this field, and today I think we need to pass the torch on to the new generation so that they can also succeed and fulfill their dreams.
For us, the Yakar Festival is a platform. If all countries and institutions encourage such initiatives, it would enable many young people to fulfill their dreams. Senegalese and African youth have enormous talent. They have a lot of drive, a lot of will, and a determination to move forward.
Free trainings were offered to young artists at the festival, including managers working in urban music. This initiative was geared towards strengthening the entertainment industry systems like coaching and music management.
It really is a great initiative. In addition to discovering the country, I have made some very important encounters. These kind of encounters help to boost an artist's career, and for me, it is a new step that I have just taken here.
Above all, it is a great pleasure for me to meet other actors from the sub-region with whom we should be able to collaborate. It also allows me to discover new things that I can offer to the public in my country. Personally, this session allowed me to acquire new editing knowledge and improve on my former abilities.
Through this training session, I am working to help young managers understand the entire musical and performing arts ecosystem, which is the most interesting part, because that is when the artist meets his audience. I hope to improve the strategy they will have to implement to promote artists, reach more audiences, and have more productive tours.
From 1998 to 2019, the Yakar Festival produced more than 2,000 young Senegalese and international artists. The 2019 edition awarded actors working for the development of urban music in Senegal. Beryl Oro, CGTN.
International Yoga Day falls on June 21st, but celebrations have already begun around the world. In Uganda, yoga enthusiasts gathered to flex their bodies to show that the practice is gaining popularity in the country. CGTN's Leon Senyange reports.
And as you exhale, we'll go ahead and fold forward.
The stretches and the meditation.
People from various backgrounds participated in celebrating International Yoga Day. For some, yoga has been a way of life.
More than 10 years, and it helps a lot in keeping my body in shape, flexible, and mind very strong.
The practice originated from India. The celebration here was about creating awareness around the benefits of yoga.
It's not just for one particular thing, like when you go to lift weights or something, it works on your entire body. So it's great for improving circulation, keeping you youthful and young, keeping your spine flexible. Yeah, so it's a lot of wonderful things you can get with yoga.
Over 1,000 people have turned up for the session here. Yoga is a practice some are willing to fully take on. Rosemary Saninda is excited about the exercises. It is her first time doing yoga.
I feel so relaxed, I feel so good, and what has excited me most is that this exercise doesn't require equipment as such, so no one would say it is expensive.
While the adults pick up the practice, the message of a healthy way to live seems to be trickling down to the children too. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
And coming up in your sports news.